Alrighty, hello every folks, and good morning. So welcome to a little bit of an excerpt from the Union Level 0 run. I wanted to talk about my favorite map in the Phorampa Wildwood. Because there's one map in particular that has exceptionally weird spawns because you're not meant to actually show up here at a low level, and additionally it actually has a unique thing that made this particular run possible. See, when the Union Level 0 mod was made, we had a discussion back and forth over different ways that the game could potentially be broken. And so early on it was stuff like, well, technically if they can't just earn experience, they might be able to, earn weapon experience differently. Okay, so it ended up locking away weapon experience, locking away personal experience. Like if you just got a new unit and you could recruit somebody from a similar level, you could technically just kind of match the level of anybody you recruited, completely bypassing that entire requirement. So recruit skills were taken off the table. Things like unusual recruit skills were taken off the table as well. And anyways, ultimately, we ended up in a situation where we can't really naturally recruit a lot of things. So, for example, technically the only people that are able to recruit anything are going to be the main three. And so Kashua can't actually go and recruit anybody until the end game. Denim can never recruit anybody because he can never get the level 2. Supposedly there was some thing that happens later on in the mod to change that, and same thing for Vice. He would be able to recruit somebody. But until then, there's no way to get over there because, for example, if we go and take a look at, like Canopus wouldn't have access to Faith Act, as an example. Or these guys, if we switch them over to something else, they wouldn't have access to their recruit skills. Anyways, with that said, one of the funny things about this is that one of the breaks that I forgot about at the time, and granted, this is so unbelievably niche that it would be kind of a disservice to the mod, I feel, to even remove it. Like, this practically feels like one of those Pokemon softlock type situations. Technically, there are no stat charms or anything else available, and while our weapon upgrades can get us most of the way through Chapter 2, it's unlikely to get us farther. So at some point we would want to be able to have some way of adjusting some stats to have more options, right? And so you might be thinking, okay, we're going to go collect those green cards that spawn every now and then. But not only is that basically a 1 in 13 chance to even get the stat you need, plus there's a pretty solid chance it's just going to be a luck card, so it may not get you anywhere, but I think a lot of us misremember how common those are to spawn. See, stat cards used to be a very common thing back in the PSP version due to the fact that they gave you like 0.1 to 0.3 of an upgrade. You practically got nothing. However, once Reborn came about, it actually did the same thing that One Vision did, namely that it went and drastically reduced the drop rate of those cards. So, like, the entire way over here, the entire way into the woods here, there was exactly one card that ended up spawning, and the AI ended up stealing it. Because while they're more or less blind to the blue cards, when it comes to the green cards, oh no, they will go after those things if they're one of the useful ones. So that being said, let's go ahead and head over to the Howling Hills here, because the spawn situation here is hilarious to me. So, as I mentioned, we are at level, basically Union level 0, which means we can't gain any experience, we can't do any of that. So all of our upgrades are coming from stuff like this, like, going out of our way to use leather armor for that tiny dex bonus to make Mr. Gingerbread here a better archer. Yes, we are still running archers. Anyway. That being said, this particular map is a very funny one, because not only does the game not know how to spawn stuff at this level because it's trying to be fair, it additionally happens to have one of the best drops in the game that's available on 3 separate units that can pop up. So, first things first, this is just funny to me, Swordmasters without swords. It's trying to follow the old drop table from PSP, because of what the hell are you doing here at this low of a level, So, I think it's at level 6 or something that these guys end up coming in with a Tachi or something. But until then, they actually don't have weapons. So the Swordmasters don't even have a sword that they are allowed to use. See, they're from what I understand, the AI will essentially spawn in using a sort of semi-randomized, semi-set list of stuff that they're allowed to use based off of their level/weapon skill. Usually, their weapon skill matches their level. The funny part about this is that none of their swords match this particular requirement, and additionally, they don't have access to their other skills because they, don't have access to them yet. So for something like the Knight, this is fine. They have low-level axes, they have low-level shields and stuff like that. They've got a pincer, and they've got a heal 1, but don't have access to a heal 2 yet. You know, we have swords available here, and we have another katana guy with no weapon. But this is also funny because it causes some of these other units to spawn in really bizarre ways. And we're going to see if we can get some of the funnier ones to spawn here. Like, this one's just fine. She comes in with a short bow and nothing else. You know, might have later improved skills down the road. But right now, their concentration is there for the purpose of the no spells that they currently can use. And additionally, they've got a simple short bow. That's all well enough. This guy brought in hammers. Granted, they still don't use their debuffs, but I would still argue they're not really meant to. Funnily enough, for those wondering, yeah, there are ways to make them, to force them to use their debuffs. People have gone and tested that with mods. It's actually the same way that One Vision handled the same issue back in the PSP version, because they're just not meant to use certain things. Simply put, because they're annoying. Like, Paralytic Wave in the older version was such a nuisance. It sounds like it would be strategically interesting. It's more so just watching your people stumble over and over as you facepalm and go play something else. Anyway. So here we got another one of the funny spawns here, a guy that's supposed to have Beast Slayer and Dragon Slayer, didn't end up bringing anything. We got Axe guy over here, another unit with no swords, blowgun guy, brought blowguns, fair enough. Okay, well, we still don't have the main funny one here, and additionally, we don't have most of the spawns that I'm actually looking for. So the ones that you want to see popping up here are the Terenites, because the Terenites that can spawn in this map, especially the crossbow one, are actually the ones that are going to have meat items. Despite the fact that this place is mentioned as a hunting ground, there's only a few characters that are actually going to be hunting in this particular area. And those are going to be the Terenites who have meat items on them. It's something like a 5% chance to drop or something along those lines, but they're food items that are very expensive and allow you to raise your stats 2 at a time. So for example, if I were to go back here, which, by the way, another funny spawn to point out here, due to the fact that these guys have access to the axe category, but they don't have access to any one-handed axes or even two-handed axes at this level, because the Terenite is limited to two-handed axes in particular. They actually will put in a crossbow, because I guess it's just sort of seen as a free offhand weapon. Like, occasionally you'll see that crossbows end up being slotted in for knight characters as a sort of like default stand-in kind of thing. It's just especially funny because Terrifying Impact does not work with that crossbow. But let's go ahead and take another look there real quick, because the items that we're talking about are the ones that look like this. So the Steamed Mollusk, the Braised Skewer, and the Dragon Steak. The 3 Terenites can all drop one of these items, and they will cause you, upon consuming it, to raise 2 stats. So like this one will boost Int and Mind, the Dragon Steak will boost Strength and Vit, I believe, and then the Braised Skewer is Dex and Agility, I believe. Something along those lines. Typically, the Dragon Steak is going to be the most common drop of the 3. I don't really know why. But yeah, the Terenites can all spawn in here. It's very rare that you'll get more than one. But this is actually one of the things that made the level 1 run possible back on PSP as well. And I just really, really love the fact that it actually managed to stay in this particular location. That they did move a lot of small kind of memey things around, but this one apparently still remains so completely unknown that they actually left it in. So that's kind of cool. Just appreciate that it's there. But though I will say, I feel like the Terenites are actually less likely to spawn now. Like, I feel like their drop rates were lower back in the PSP version. Yes, I think it was lower than 5%. But I feel like them actually spawning is potentially a bit less likely. I'm not 100% certain. But additionally, as a bit of a funny thing, if we were to go ahead and retreat out of there and then go put in Zapan separately, then we go ahead and take a look, and we'll see that a lot of their spawn issues have now been resolved. So, these guys have swords all of a sudden. They actually have some of their spells all of a sudden. These guys, actually, I don't think we showed this one earlier. But she actually was spawning in with daggers earlier. I wonder if we can swap him out and actually see that still. These guys have their Slayer skills back, all that kind of thing. We have our Terenite with his axe instead of his crossbow. Actually, if we... here, let's remove Zapan, see if it still does the same thing. If it'll actually re-equip them accordingly. Did it? Yeah, it did. Okay, and yeah, now we can see all their stuff disappeared. And now, due to the fact that there are no katanas this early in their level kind of bracket thing here, they actually come in with 2 battle knives instead. I love this weirdly specific nonsense, you know? This poor guy's been given back his crossbow. So arguably this could, in theory, be a sort of optimal way to grind for those particular items. It isn't. I mean, don't get me wrong, these things are super rare, and it's kind of annoying to keep redoing it this way. But if you wanted to get a bunch of food items, this would be the way to do it. Anyway, that's about that. I gotta get going. Y'all have yourselves a good one, and I just thought this was fun. See ya. Bye.